Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee Talk. If you just joined us this week, Coffee Talks are the short in-between episodes where we read your user-submitted stories, hang out with friends, talk about witchy pop culture, or chat with you about what's going on in our personal practices.
I'm laughing because you didn't say wishy this time.
I really was conscious about it.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay. So
personal growth for you, look it up.
I did some shadow work on that shit. Anyways. Okay. So, but if you want to be featured on Coffee Talk, email us at submissions@coffeeandcauldrons.com, or you can send us your submission on our website, coffeeandcauldrons.com. You can send us your tips, your ghost stories, or any kind of funny story you think the community would love to hear. Be sure to let us know if we can share your name, or if you prefer to be anonymous. Your social media usernames are also a great way to get credit. So this week we're just going to be reading your ghost stories. But first,
dun dun dun, who's shocked?
Robin, do you have any ghostly things happen lately?
I do. Last week I didn't have any, but this week I do. So it's kind of a ghost story, but it's also kind of not a ghost story. I talk about it a little bit in the part 2 of the main episode, so the Patreon exclusive thing. Mm-hmm. But as all of you know, or probably most of you know, I see dead people. I am that kid from Sixth Sense. That's me. We are the same. Not actually, because I wish Bruce Willis was my dad, but he's not.
We are the same.
We are the same.
We're the same.
Collectively the same. And it's something that runs in my family, but not something that we really discuss as a family. My mom also sees dead people, not as often as I do, but definitely when she was a lot younger, and because she's told me a billion stories about it. And as some of you know, I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast, but I've definitely talked about it on social media, where my grandfather is dying. He has dementia and got a couple of other pretty serious things going on. And it's just kind of been a slow waiting game of him dying. And for the last couple of months, on an occasion when we're there, I've seen death there. Death, if you see death, it can appear in a lot of different ways. Usually it's kind of just like a shadowy figure sort of situation, and you just kind of know that that's what it is. Do you know what I mean? In other instances, it looks like the Grim Reaper. And I really truly believe that the death that you see is just like a manifestation of whatever it kind of, I don't know if it's in whatever makes you more comfortable at that period, or just what, you know what I mean? I don't think that death kind of fits in like a box like that. You know what I mean? But I do think that it presents itself in different ways at different times for different people in different situations, etc. Okay. And I've seen death there a few times, and I've actually been really surprised that my grandfather's still holding on, given that. And recently we went over there, and my kid, death's there. Okay. Husband can't see death. Nobody sees death from me. I ignore it like I usually do because I'm not surprised. My kid freaks out all of a sudden. Mind you, never been afraid of their grandfather, their great-grandfather, this whole time, their whole life. He's been dying their whole life. Never been afraid. All of a sudden, my kid's backing up, afraid. Really, really scared. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm just thinking, sleepy. Kid's just sleepy, right? But ever since then, everywhere we go, if there's a skeleton, my kid is freaking out. And it's the same kind of reaction that we saw when we were at their grandparents' house. And I can't help but wonder if my kid also saw death and is now afraid because they're too little to really understand what they saw. Yeah. And it's been all the skeletons that they're afraid of are ones that are like the Grim Reaper. Not like silly little goofy skeletons or anything like that. It's always the shrouded skeleton. My kid's freaking out, and I can't help but wonder if they saw death too. And the thing is it's such a thing that even my husband is like, you might be right. Like, there's a clear pattern happening here. Captain doesn't believe in anything, thinks ghosts are fake, is like, I think you might be onto something here, Robin. And I'm like looking into ideas on how to make them like shields and stuff that are like toddler appropriate. That's the closest I got to a ghost story this week.
That's pretty close. Poor baby. Yeah. That's got to be so,
it makes me
so scary.
sad.
Because you can't like talk.
You can't.
You can't talk it over.
They're too young to explain what it might be. Now, when they're older, if they saw something like that, then that would be very different. We could have a conversation. I would understand, but they're so little that they don't understand. And I can't help but think that that might be what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My witchling was the same, like not exactly about seeing death, but seeing ghosts. Like they've brought up so many times about seeing stuff, but it's definitely nice to being at the age where you can like discuss it and stuff like that. Rather than just watching them suffer through it.
I don't know what to do, but we're figuring it out. We're playing it by ear and we're figuring it out. It doesn't help that this has all happened at the same time as actual Halloween, where there are shrouded skeletons on everybody's front porch.
Poor baby.
It's very cool.
So I do not have a ghost story myself. Things have been actually really quiet, and to me that's a little quiet. That's a little iffy. Like I might actually, like, I know they say, you know, if there's a lot of like activity happening to like protect your house, but if it's like too quiet, I kind of want to protect my house too.
Right. Well, then, since you don't have a ghost story, do you want to read our first ghost story today? Our listener submitted ghost story.
I sure can. Okay, this one. Let me bring it up. Okay. It doesn't say anything about the names, but just going to...
They sent us a second email, and they did say in that one that we can use their name.
Okay. So this is from Ellie, and they say, my grandma's house is supposedly has two spirits, a boy and an older woman. Now, as an 8-year-old, I was a pure skeptic and would constantly challenge them to show themselves. One day I was vacuuming my grandma's room, and I clearly saw someone walk up the hall and into the spare room across the hall. I tracked it with my head and saw the silhouette of a boy who was about the size of my brother. It stood there for a second and then walked out of sight of the doorway into the other room. I completely thought it was my brother going to get something, but it didn't turn on the light. I turned off the vacuum, walked in, and turned on the light. There was nothing there. I got freaked out and went to the living room to find my older brother passed out on the couch. To this day, I'm still slightly skeptical, but I can't explain that moment at all. I love y'all's podcast. Keep up the good work. Sending love from Texas, Ellie.
Thank you for the story. That's also very freaky. I think children ghosts are the worst ones.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Well, it's also so sad, which also doesn't help because like children,
they're literally kids. Like, so sad. I mean, I know if they were a kid themselves at that time, it probably wouldn't register quite that way, but that's always so sad to me. And scary. Kids are scary.
Want to read the next story?
I sure can. Our next one is from Mike. I have 4 short stories and separate encounters. If you find them worthy, you may read one or all of them. Okay, so the first one is, I came home from work one day to an empty house. My daughter was in school and my wife was at work. I was emptying my pockets on the counter when I heard a voice right next to my ear say, "Hi." Nobody was visible there, and I was indeed home alone. I felt the presence, but it was such a new experience for me. My background was that I was from a very conservative family and church. Up until that instance, I did not believe in ghosts or spirits. The greeting that afternoon changed me forever. A few weeks ago, laying in bed, someone brushed against brush against and move my door. Moments later, a glass jar fell but didn't break. I jumped out of bed to see my wife was up walking around. She was in bed and all the lights were off. To see if my wife was up walking around. She was in bed and all the lights were off. All the doors were still closed and locked. I looked around to see if I could find out what made the noise, and there was nothing. My wife stated that she occasionally hears similar noises. The next one is, I came home from work one afternoon when I opened the door and I heard a little girl laughing and giggling. A neighbor lady has 2 little girls and I thought that they were visiting. I yelled, hello? Silence. I walked around the house thinking that somebody was visiting. Then I heard the laughing again. I went upstairs and it stopped. No one was home. I didn't see or hear anything after that. Shish. And the last one is, I returned home from a business trip. My wife greeted me at the door and helped carry my luggage up the stairs. We came to my room and set the luggage down. The door then fully opened on its own, and we said thank you and entered. Listen,
we like
the laughter,
courteous ghosts.
The laughter, though, the kid laughing, that shit is creepy and ominous. Why do they have to do that?
Oh my gosh. I just remembered something that happened.
What?
Sorry. Okay, so the other night we had a fire pit and I went inside the house. We were at the fire pit and I grabbed some soup. I was grabbing soup for my wife and I. But I was like kind of talking out loud to myself inside the house, and my wife swears that someone was answering because she heard 2 voices inside the house. Yeah.
Why are they like that? Like, for real? Honestly, ghosts can be really offensive because they don't think about anybody but themselves.
Well, I didn't hear it, so I'm fine.
I mean, all right, fair enough.
But yeah, no, we do love a courteous ghost who just like opens up the door and you even said thank you. That's so sweet. That's building a strong relationship with the spirits of the house. They respect you. That's good.
That is good. And kind of nice if you think about it.
Yeah. I want one of those ghosts that people talk about all the time that like go around and clean the house. Like, yeah, you can come live here.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a ghost like that?
You ready for our next story?
I sure am.
Okay, this one is from at Wild and Witchy 83 on Instagram. So they say, this literally just happened. I was in my room having a wonderful dream about getting my old house back when I abruptly woke up. Upon waking, I saw a middle-aged man with a polo shirt and a metal framed glasses squinting and looking at my cell phone, which is on my bedside table charging. I was startled to see him, but didn't feel threatened in any way. He vanished within a couple seconds, but I know what I saw. And when I sat upwards in my bedroom, I did say that I wanted to keep out those who mean me harm. This guy obviously didn't, so it makes sense to me that he was allowed to enter. This is the first time I've seen a spirit in my parents' house, though. I've sensed them, but never seen one. It was kind of exciting. I immediately recorded my experience in a journal, but now I'm too wired to go back to sleep. This is the 3rd or 4th night that I've woken up exactly 5:30 a.m. Is there any significant meaning behind this time? Like, is it still the witching hour? Anyways, love the podcast. Thanks for everything that you do.
It's not the witching hour. And usually, in my experience, when you keep getting the same time and it's not like the witching hour, right? Mm-hmm. It's because that spirit is somehow attached to that time frame.
Mm-hmm. And also between dawn and also dusk are very like spirit heavy activity times 2, because like it's a very liminal space. And that's, I think that's around the time where like even the sun is starting to rise. It might still be dark outside, but it's peeking through. But I do agree with Robin. That could definitely just be that spirit's time to be like, hey, it's time to check your phone. What's going on with your phone?
Yeah.
What if he's like from the 70s, like, what the fuck is this?
Victorian child, just like, doth. No, they don't speak like that in the Victorian period, do they? They say like, doth. The Shakespeare and Victorian eras merging.
Now you're going to get
too much.
Now you're going to get a Victorian child who's like, I don't speak like that.
You. Knocking on wood. Fuck you, don't say that. If anybody's listening, Maria's joking. She does not mean that. Anyway, thank you for ruining my life with that one. We have one more ghost story for today.
Okay. You want to read it?
Let me see. They don't say if we can say their name, so I'm not going to. Mm-hmm. It says, hi, I wanted to share a story about a ghost encounter. So one night I was pretty anxious, and when I went to bed facing my wall, so my back was facing towards my closet. As I started to fall asleep, I felt somebody's presence in my room, and that they were looking at me. I got worried, so I looked to make sure that nobody was there, but I still felt a presence. Again, I was already anxious as it is, so that worried me even more. Mm-hmm. As I began to fall back asleep, I saw a woman with long hair and a floral dress on in the corner of my eye. She rested her hand on my shoulder, and then I looked towards her. She was gone. My mom came in and cleansed my room, and we politely asked her to leave. She hasn't returned since.
I hate that when you feel something behind you. That's the worst. Like,
yeah,
no.
And also, like, can you not touch me? Like, that's the thing with ghosts. They have no respect for personal space. Literally do not touch me, especially like if you're a ghost and you can see that I'm already being weird and I'm looking over my shoulder and I'm checking, and then your ass just strolls on over here and goes and touches me. Get a life, get a job, get a career, go do something else.
Exactly.
Psychotic.
No thank you.
No thank you. Sheesh. Well, that's all of our ghost stories for today.
Yeah. But thank you so much.
Before we go, though, because you guys don't know this, Maria knows this. We always record these episodes before, like a week or two before, which means that if you're listening to this, I get to tell you early for Maria and I, not early for you, that we've got our new class lined up for the month of November, and you can join it. If you know who Chaotic Witch Aunt is, or also they go by Frankie, they are teaching a class on bones and the use of bones in magic.
Very excited.
I think that's pretty exciting. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you want to join the Patreon to listen to Frankie's class next month, or this month, you can. I do need to look at my calendar while I'm talking about this so that way I can tell you what day it's going to be on. Yikes. Oh, it's the 26th of November.
Okay. Good to know. Very exciting.
So, very exciting stuff. We would love to have you.
Yeah, and we have our December teacher lined up, which I'm not going to give away.
No giving anything away.
It's so good. Well, so good. I'm really excited about that one, too.
We have a lot of really cool classes lined up. And I don't know. I'm very excited about it. So hopefully, you guys like it too.
Yeah, hopefully see you there.
If you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, hopefully we see you there. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining us this week for Coffee Talk. We hope to see you next week for our regularly scheduled episodes. You can check out our website for links to our submission forms, or you can shoot us an email at submissions@coffeeandcauldrons.com to tell us your ghost story or any story. You know, I would love it if past this episode we got some cool discussion going, some user submitted discussion on like cozy end of the year vibes.
Or like
tell us your New Year's plans.
Yeah, tell us the most magical like winter solstice that you've ever had. Yeah.
We would love to hear those stories. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still send us ghost stories.
Yeah. Tell us a cozy ghost story.
Ooh.
I want to hear a cozy ghost story.
The ghost of Santa Claus. Yeah, you can send us your ghost stories. You can send us witchy stories, tips, or topics that you think the community would love to hear, but send them our way. We can't wait to read them.
Yeah. And as always, if you enjoy Coffee and Cauldrons, please take a moment to review us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Or if you want to support us directly, consider joining Patreon, where we share articles, a special part 2 exclusive episode, and ad-free episodes. And you get this like Coffee Talk a week early, and we have a spell of the month box and a Discord. It's a very amazing little community we put together.
If you want to join the library tier, I think that's great. Our classes are great. Our library articles are great. But I think you're crazy if you join the library tier and you don't want to pay the $10 extra to get a monthly subscription box. So fun. I think it's jam-packed full of value. I've been thinking about this for like the last 3 months, that I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that we have this cool thing. Especially now that you get the extra class. Like, I think you should, but that's your decision.
Yeah, and next month's box, so good. It's going to be so good.
It out. It's this month. It's November.
Yeah, this month. So exciting.
You have like 6 days from the release of this to sign up for it if you want to be in it.
We love it so much. Robin and I ordered one of each for ourselves.
Oh, goodness. So,
but anyways,
thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.